And Joel Embiid is the bigger, better, faster player out on the floor. And he's imposing his will and his skill, and there's no one that can really stop him. And when I look at the 76ers right now, they look at the Wizards and they say, anytime we want to beat you, we can beat you. So they play around with them a little bit, and then they step on the gas and they leave them behind.
Well, here to impose their will and their skill, it is time to welcome in the award-winning, the one and only Stephanie Reddy, who is covering this series, and her coverage has been awesome so far, nothing short of stellar. So these Sixers right now, they have a chance to eliminate these Washington Wizards and send them home. So we know that Danny Green is a two-time champion, and he's been in these situations before. What is his message to the Sixers early on?
First of all, hey, Ro. Thanks for the introduction. Hey, Smitty. Hey, Zeke. Good to see you guys. To answer your question, Ro, it's been a lot. He's said a lot to this team all year long because, as you mentioned, he does have championship pedigree. He's won 2 titles in a row with 2 different teams for a total of 3 titles. He's going for his 4th one this year for the 3rd time in a row with his 3rd different team if it happens with the 76ers. But Danny Green told me he's talked to the guys and told them, listen, you cannot skip any steps. You have to be in the moment. Play each game as if it matters, and it's a game 7, and to do what you do best and to make sure they stay on the same page. And in fact, I asked Doc Rivers just moments ago about Danny Green and his impact on this locker room as it relates to a closeout game situation. He said, Danny Green is so smart and so wise. I listened to him. He said it's really not just about what he says and his voice in the locker room. It's about the way he plays. He said Danny Green is so calm all the time. When you watch him play, he just trots right into that jump shot, doesn't talk a lot out there. He stays calm, and he's a calming force in the locker room. He said that's so valuable to the 76er team.
Definitely valuable, that 2-time champion. He is ready to shoot. We'll see what happens as he continues in this potential closeout game. Now, you spoke a lot about Doc Rivers, and obviously things have changed in Philadelphia this season. What is the meaning of the word accountability when it comes to these Sixers and Doc Rivers?
Man, that is the word of the season. When you talk to the 76ers players, almost every single one of them will use that word in some form or fashion when talking about what Doc Rivers does for this team and the impact he's had on this locker room. They all say that he holds them accountable. He keeps them in their roles, and they know what their roles are. They also say that Doc Rivers does a fantastic job of stressing the team success over individual success. And I asked Doc about that, actually, and he told me just one example of one of the things that he does is post-game in the locker room. If a guy goes for 30 or 40, he might not highlight that guy. He might highlight the gentleman who set the screens to get that guy open, or the guy who gave the assist to get those 30 or 40 points. He wants every player in the locker room to feel valuable because he knows that they will work and play harder if they feel like they are a part of the team's success.
Really stressing team over individual. Now going to the other side with the Washington Wizards, we know that no team in the history of the NBA has come back from being down 3-0. They were very optimistic at the beginning of the series, and we see Daniel Gafford is going to be starting tonight, his first start with the Wizards. What is their mindset coming into this potential elimination game?
Well, Scott Brooks made that change in the lineup, like you mentioned, with Daniel Gafford starting because he wants more pace. He says he wants it to be even faster. He knows that Gafford has the ability to get up, catch lobs in transition, to play above the rim, to quicken the pace of the game. But more importantly, he said that he's matured and he trusts him now out there to not get silly fouls in a playoff scenario. He's played very well during this series against the 76ers. And so Scott Brooks wants to mix things up, but he thinks that it'll help his team get off to a better start.
We got off to a great start with you. Always a champion with your reports, and congratulations on your child becoming a champion today as well, Steph. We're looking forward to seeing you on the call. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Go Marines. They won the Memorial Day tournament today.
There it is. There it is. The champion, the award-winning Stephanie Reddy.
Proud mama.
Of course, you got to be proud.
Yes.
Hey, there's nothing like when your kid has success.
Yes.
Now, looking at these Washington Wizards, obviously we know that they're down. They have a big mountain to climb. And Zeke, starting with you, what's going to be the formula specifically tonight for the Wizards to extend this series? What needs to happen?
When you're playing against a more talented team, and I know everyone talks about, pace and playing fast. But, when you give a more talented team more shots than you get or the same amount of shots that you take, then, most of the time that team's going to beat you. And that's what we see happening here. It may be wise for Washington to maybe slow the pace down a little bit and maybe limit the amount of attempts that Philadelphia gets tonight, maybe create some turnovers. But if you're just running up and down playing real fast and you let them play real fast, the team with the most talent is going to win. And right now, Philadelphia has the most talent.
They definitely do have the most talent, but we see these Washington Wizards. At the end of the day, I hear you guys say it all the time, you have to be a professional, be a pro. And we've seen the Wizards get blown out by 20-plus points, 25-plus points in each of the last 2 games. What's going on in the locker room right now? What's the mentality in this potential last game, Smitty?
You know, I think, Ro, Isaiah said it best. I mean, they're just undermanned, under skill as far as against this Philadelphia 76ers. But that doesn't mean you got to come out here and compete. I think it's execution. Yes, you got to run when it's time to run, but I think you got to think the game. I mean, whatever advantage you don't have a lot because of the skill set of the Philadelphia 76ers and their size. But if there's a matchup or a possession where you're going to high pick and roll Joel Embiid and you can get that, you got to keep going to that. And if you're going to push the pace, just like Isaiah said, you push the pace, you're just going to run it up there, but you can't turn it over and take a bad shot because that's going to lead to them coming back at you. Ben Simmons is a fast player as well at 6'10", pushing the basketball. For me, is the little things, the execution. And I always said is, like Isaiah says, when a team is more skilled than you and better than you, you have to execute at a higher.
Maverick Josh Richardson doing some good work with TAP's Tragedy Assistance Program for survivors. His former teammate Joel Embiid has been a dream for the Sixers this series. Stephanie Reddy is back with some interesting comparisons. Pay attention.
The Wizards are down 0-3 and still don't have an answer for Joel Embiid. They've tried to double team him. They've played him one-on-one, and he still has 88 points in 84 minutes played in this series. He's shooting 74% from the paint, 69% from mid-range, 55 from the three, and is 20 of 23 from the free throw line. Scott Brooks made this comparison.
I was fortunate enough to play with Olajuwon for almost 3 years, and he's doing things that I haven't seen since then. Just as the 7th year in the league, he's been able to see it all now. Seen all the defenses, seen all the schemes, and he's skilled. He's a skilled, athletic, tough, high IQ basketball player.
The footwork of Akeem and Mikhail, the fadeaway, the shooting of Ewing, he puts a lot of work into his game, and that's what makes him such a good player.
Our whole game plan is basically centered around him, and we understand that. He can score. He's a 3-level scorer. He can score from outside on the 3. He's not like most bigs in the league. He can put the ball on the floor, shoot 3. He plays like a guard. It's kind of crazy.
The process, no doubt, has been special this season. Earlier in this program, Smitty, you did make that comparison with Embiid and Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, what do you think specifically changed with Embiid this season? Because it seems like we haven't seen this version of Embiid consistently for this long a time.
Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers obviously came in and defined roles. We all, over the years, we've been talking, whose team is it? Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons? This is no slight to Ben Simmons. Doc Rivers said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through Joel Embiid. He's our first option. And then Joel Embiid, we know you got this skill set. But what you're going to do is start off in that paint first and start and set the tone and dominate. But what I love is once he got into that paint, he started to understand, I can shoot free throws, so if I can just get fouled, go to the free throw line, and you see the ball go to the rim and start to get some easy ones at the free throw line, then you feel good. I know Isaiah did this. I was 4 for 5. I got about 4 extra shots now in this quarter where I could just go ahead and try some things. And that's what I think Embiid is starting to do because he's drawing a double team. He can pass out of it. But he's establishing the way the Sixers are going to play. And then Doc Rivers got everybody starting in their role. And Ben Simmons is still a huge and the piece that they need, along with Joel Embiid, to win a championship. But I put this all on Doc Rivers, just defining and refining Joel Embiid, how he should play mentally.
As far as that mental approach, Zeke, coming to you, we know that you're a master at that when it comes to it in postseason, winning so many games. But first you had to learn how to win, going up against those Celtic teams that beat you up, and then you finally figured out how to conquer that. Looking at that Embiid right now, do you feel that is where he is, where he's figured out how to win in the postseason at a consistent level?
I think he's figured out and understand what Doc Rivers has been saying and what Shaq and Barkley and so many of the other big guys have been saying also, that if you dominate inside the paint, then it's it's almost impossible for other teams to stop you. And I think what Embiid has realized is that, we saw 14 for 18 up there. When you're shooting that well from that close inside, you are not only dominating the game, but you are intimidating your opponent. Now, what does that mean? That means that the Philadelphia 76ers play different than any other team in the NBA. So Washington's and whoever else they face, they have to come up with a totally different defensive scheme to play against an Embiid, because no one else in the NBA plays from inside. Everyone else plays the three-point line. So their defensive schemes are geared towards stopping three-point shooters. But what NBA team now has interior post players that can really defend in the post one-on-one without having to double team? And when you come double team, you're not used to double teaming in the post. So therefore, you don't know how to rotate out of the post. So Philadelphia, Embiid, Doc Rivers, they really got the NBA right now by the throat. And if they continue playing this way, it's going to be difficult for teams to beat them, because their style is so different than any other NBA team playing right now.
And we know that style starts with defense, second in the NBA overall with defensive efficiency, second in steals, and second when it comes to just doing all things, because they know how to do it defensively with the Sixers. Let's go to break. Rudy Gobert, he knows a thing or two about defense, but he has 4 careers. Been executing at a very high clip, is the man right here on the screen. The jaw dropper.
Did you see those? No, he has 101 points, Zeke. And he's up there with Will, Mikan, Lou Alcindor / Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and they said he can't shoot. They said he can't shoot.
Well, hey, Smitty, I get and none of them could shoot either. Will, Mikan, and Lou, they couldn't shoot either.
Oh, man, listen, it doesn't matter as long as you got game. The point guard has the name. Zeke, it's time for some point guard appreciation. What are you seeing so far from Ja Morant's game specifically that you love in these playoffs?
I've said this since he came into the league. He's a winner. He plays winning basketball. And what we're seeing out of he and Trae Young right now, they are guys that are learning how to win in this league. They got measured on their statistical performance, but now they've come to the understanding that, hey, we got to throw these stats out the window and we got to play to win the basketball game. And Ja plays to win the basketball game. He does all the right things. He gets his teammates involved. He's a good defender. He's good on the offensive side. He takes shots that he can make. He doesn't take shots that the analytics say you should take. He takes shots that he can make. And therefore, he's up there with Lou Alcindor, Wilt Chamberlain, and George Mikan. Love what I'm seeing in Ja. Love what I'm seeing in the Memphis Grizzlies. Shout out to the coach Jenkins, who's done a great job this whole year and also last year.
Taylor Jenkins has been impressive, and what I love about Ja Morant, he sets the tone. He's tried to dunk on Rudy Gobert a couple of times. You got to respect that at the end of the day.
Yes, bro, and I'm going to take it even back, I'd say. I'm going to go all the way back to the playgrounds of Chicago and Detroit. He is one of those players, when you're playing 21, there's about 13, 14 guys out there, and he just finds a way to win. In 21, you got to find a way to win. It's not about skill, it's a will. He's one of those guys, he got the tip in. He knocked down the 3 free throws. He chased the loose ball down. And they said, 21 tip out, he won. That's Ja Morant. He finds a way, because I love it. Isaiah just put it, what I love, how he put it. Analytics says shoot threes, right? Basketball players say win. Whatever it takes to win. Put the ball in the hole, where is it, left hand, right hand, backwards, fast break, jump over Gobert. That's what I like him. He has that Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas mentality, win, and that's why I love him. That's why I can't wait to watch the game.
Ja Morant's been so impressive.
Hey, Smitty, remember when we would play 21 and somebody would go to the line and they would hit that second shot and they would say 12, and you'd be like, 12? Right. You got 12 already?
Yes, indeed.
And you standing under the basket, you got 2 or you got 3, and they standing out there and they say 12.
Oh, man. Well, 12 is a number that John Morant wears. He was the second overall pick in 2019. Then you go to Trae Young, who wears number 11, the number that Zeke famously wore, and he's figured it out. We've seen him turn into a star, and he's so icy. Look at that company right there. Steph Curry, KJ, the Big O, 25 points per game, 10 assists in his first 4 career playoff games. Zeke, I know you love this as well.
Oh, yeah.
And you were showing him love on Twitter. You got to show him love all day, every day, huh, Zeke?
Well, most definitely. And this is what we love about, young players coming into the league. Trae early in the season, and even a little bit last year, he had to go through some growth spurts. He had to learn how to win. He was being measured, against the stat sheet. And then I think he got to the point where he said, you know what? It's not about the stat sheet. I'm growing, I'm maturing as a leader. Even with his teammates in the locker room, there was a little friction there. But what has emerged from all of this is one of the best point guards that's playing in our league right now, who does it all. I mean, you could always say, well, defensively, we can always go and find Trae. We can pick on Trae. But in this playoff series, that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Trae defend. I'm seeing him being in defensive position. I'm seeing him talking to his teammates. I'm seeing him having fun. And then he's inspiring them, Spitty. He's inspiring them with his play. They attacked Trae early. Not only did they attack him physically, but they attacked him verbally. And what did he do? He stood up and he let his teammates know, hey, I'm all right. And I'm going to still do this. And when we get back home, I'm going to do it to you even more. That's what leadership, inspiration is all about. And that's what's been on display with Trae Young. And I cannot say this enough. The emergence and the growth that we've seen over these last couple of months has been outstanding. Great job on the coaching side, great job on the family side, but more important, great job on the player side for accepting the responsibility and growing and maturing and leading your team.
Zeke, you always like to say it. You said it on the tweet. Let it be known in both those 2
Let it be known.
Saw a couple shots go in and really found a good rhythm.
Conley's three. It's good. Mike Conley with his 4th 3 of the first half. And Utah will take an 11-point lead to the locker room. Mike Conley with his 5th 3-pointer in his return to Memphis. Conley strikes again with another 3, his 6th triple. All of his baskets have come from behind the arc.
You got the OG and then you got the young guy. I think that's pretty dope. It's a dope story, but for him, he's competing, man. He's doing this thing on both ends of the floor, and both of these guys taking the challenge head on, and that's why I love Mike and probably love Mike.
Morant again with that push shot in the paint. Ends an 8-0 Utah run. Morant, who's so good in the paint, among the best guards we've seen in a long time in the lane, ties it at 100.
Obviously, Jai's he's a really talented player. It's amazing to be playing against a guy like Ja, first off. Just seeing a guy that's so talented, a young superstar in our league, wearing the jersey that I'm so used to wearing, getting the cheers from the crowds that I'm so used to hearing, is surreal. It's like full circle. You never thought that it would be this way. I never did, at least. It's like sometimes you live long enough to become the villain, and I've become that.
Wow, Conley splashes home his 7th 3-pointer. Morant comes back with a 3 of his own. But John Morant having a brilliant 4th quarter. Memphis by 2 with 4:15 to go. Conley with the dump down to Gobert. Fouled and counted.
Mike was terrific, man, on both ends of the floor. He was Mike Conley.
Utah takes a 2-1 series lead. The Jazz with an excellent close, showing why they were the best team during the season, all season.
Yes, indeed. When you play a long time with the team, maybe 10 or more seasons, and then you go back to play them in the playoffs, well, Mike Conley's in exclusive company right there. Walter Davis, 34 points against the Suns in '89. Mike Conley famously played for the Grizzlies for years, 27 points early in the series. Smitty, For so many years, we've seen him play for the Grizzlies, just a part of that franchise. We know that that identity just goes along. When you think of the Grizzlies, you think of Mike Conley, but he became an all-star. It didn't really work out in year one for Utah, but what's changed in year two to where he's been so successful for this Jazz team?
Well, first of all, I got to give and pay homage to Walter Davis, one of my favorite players, the Greyhound. So just to get a chance to see his name up there, I always watched his films when I could, try to play like him. So just wanted to give that shout out to him. Now I'll turn the page to Mike Conley. I love what he's done. Mike Conley has been on the ball roll for all those years. I'm the point guard. That's the position he's played since grade school, then high school, college, and throughout his entire 95% of his career. And then also you get traded and they ask you to play off the basketball. That had to be tough for Mike Conley. Yes, the first year he struggled a little bit. Then next year, tells you a guy that wants to win, still loves the game. He goes back into the lab because without the basketball as a point guard, now you got to learn how to come off screens. You got to know how to slide when there's penetration. He's done that, and then he worked on his jump shot where you can't leave Mike Conley open, knocking down shots. And for me is to see him be able to make that transition so quick, because usually you have these habits. He had all good habits at the point guard. He had to learn how to play the two off Donovan Mitchell, and he's done a fantastic job.
Zeke, we know that you play with Joe Dumars, and you two kind of rotated at different positions, going from point to shooting at different points of the game. How difficult was that for you to do back then, and how do you think Conley's done with playing with someone like Donovan Mitchell?
I think Smitty nailed it. In terms of Joe and I, throughout the course of the season and throughout the course of our careers, we were interchangeable. What Smitty just pointed out accurately was that, Conley since high school, college, and 10, 11 years in the NBA has only played the point guard position. Then he gets traded to Utah, and now his whole mindset has to change, and he's got to pick up different skills. That just goes to show you how great a player Mike Conley has been in this league. Not only was he the highest paid point guard for a long period of time and dominated at that position, but now he's moved to a scoring position with Utah. He's picked up his skill set, he's improved it, and as Dennis